If you're a Mercury Ford lover, here's your dream car. Been parked here since 1971 when it broke down and the owner went down to the dealer and bought a Mercedes instead. Sitting here ever since. Belonged to my old high school counselor. No, it's not for sale. They just like it out there in the yard rusting away for some reason. Well, maybe someday I'll beat Brett Jackson, but not today. Pretty good shape, actually. We're at our garage and test facility. Let's open the magic door and see what we're wheeling out today. Looks like we snagged ourselves a nice Ford F-150 pickup truck. And on top of that, the expensive Platinum version. Some big bucks there. There are 4 basic gasoline engines available in the F-150. The base truck is a 3.3 liter V6, putting out 290 horsepower. In 4-wheel drive, 20 miles per gallon rating. You have the 2.7 EcoBoost, 325 horsepower, with a 21 miles per gallon overall rating. These are 4x4 listings, by the way, not 2-wheel drive. Then you have the 3.5 EcoBoost, 375 horsepower, 19 mpg overall. And for traditionalists, the 5.0 V8, 395 horsepower, 18 mpg overall. This brings us to the diesel. Only 250 horsepower, the lowest of all the gasoline engines, but the torque rating, 440 pounds-feet of torque at 1750 RPM, compared to the 3.5 EcoBoost. It puts out more torque at 470, but a higher 3500 RPM. Then you have the V8 at 400, 2.7 at 400, and the base 3.3 at 265 pounds-feet of torque. And the fuel economy for this diesel is 30 mpg if you get 2-wheel drive, but for 4x4 is all the figures I'm listing. It's 22 mpg versus 19, 18, 21, and 20 for the others. A slight improvement in fuel economy. As you can see, for towing, this is definitely a better engine. Maximum torque below the 2000 RPM level. However, the price, well, how much does it cost? That's the killer. According to the price sticker, if you want the 3-liter V6 turbo diesel, it says $3,000 extra. What they're not telling you is that's over the price of the V8, which is standard in the Platinum. So you take the $3,000 extra on the diesel and the $2,700 it costs to get a V8 in an F-150. The whole package is running you under about $6 grand. So why would you spend all this money for a diesel engine? Well, a lot of people tell you it's because of long engine life. Supposedly diesels go 400, 500,000 miles. And that's true in the bigger rigs, but it's not true on these conventional consumer rigs. Not true. You got heavy-duty trucks like this that can run 400,000 miles without an overhaul, but the engines are designed from the ground up to run that type of mileage. Or should I say detuned from the ground up to run that type of mileage. And they're always on the highway 24 hours a day, constantly, not stop and go city traffic. Makes a big difference in your engine life. The fact is, the diesel engines you get in consumer passenger cars and pickup trucks are not detuned for long mileage. They're tuned for towing and pulling. Sure, you might get 200, 300,000 miles off one, but you can get 300,000 miles off a good American gasoline V8. In fact, even a Toyota Corolla 4-cylinder can go 250, 300,000 miles. So long life really isn't in the cards here. As far as diesel reliability goes, let me play devil's advocate here just for a second. Let's say the diesel fanboys are right. You really can get 500,000 miles off a common diesel engine. Let's just take it further. Let's say you get 10 million miles off a diesel engine. So what? Because at 300,000 miles, the rest of the truck is worn out. Especially if you have a 4x4. The transfer cases of most trucks go out after 150,000 miles, unless you have a Toyota. The truck is done. It's gone. When a truck gets 300,000 miles on it, you sell it to your brother-in-law so he can go to work and get a job and quit mooching off you. Or sell it to your gardener so he can take it down to Mexico and sell it as a generator. Doesn't matter. You get rid of it. You sell it. You get a new truck. That simple. Anyone who keeps a truck more than 300,000 miles can't afford a diesel anyway, so the whole subject's kind of moot. Again, there are plenty of gasoline engines that can go 300,000 miles, pretty much as these diesels do. So long life is not a real reason for buying a diesel engine in a light-duty or common consumer vehicle or truck. Enough said. Still, there are good reasons for buying a diesel in a Ford pickup, and we'll continue on and I'll explain why, because I really do like this engine. This is a fantastic diesel engine. It's one of the best light duties on the market. So let me continue on. And what about fuel economy? Yes, they do better than gasoline engines, but you have to run up an awful lot of miles for the system to pay for itself. So to go back to the original question, why buy diesel? We can go back to my original comment earlier on how great these are for towing because of maximum torque at low RPM. If you're going to pull a heavy load like a horse trailer or camper or boat, it's a lot easier in a diesel with all that maximum torque at low speed. You're not straining the engine. You're not straining yourself or the truck. If you're hauling loads on a daily basis, the diesel is definitely worth looking at if you don't want to go with a 3.5 EcoBoost. I looked up the towing specs, which are subject to change. It says this diesel engine maxes out at 11,400 pounds. The V8, a slight advantage, 11,600, not much more. The 3.5 EcoBoost was ahead at 13,200 pounds, again subject to change. Now some might say, hey, if you can tow more with the EcoBoost, why not get that over the diesel? Look, who's going to tow 13,000 pounds? Most people in a Ford F-150 are going to tow 10,000 pounds or less. And if you're doing so, it's going to be a lot more easier and better in this diesel than the other engines because of its low-end torque characteristics. The bottom line, if you're towing more than 10,000 pounds, you should be moving up to the Ford F-250 or 350s. So let's get serious in the practical real world. If you watch my videos, I usually do a long segment on the features inside the cabin, but we're not going to do that in this video because we're focusing on engine diesel performance and fuel economy. But I will tell you that the cabins on the new Ford F-150s are fantastic. In fact, Ford and Chrysler, with their Rams, are the only two that are taking cabins seriously anymore. The Chevy, GMC, Toyotas, and Titans are kind of behind the times and they need to catch up. This truck had some options I like. Number one, if you're going to load up the bed with a bunch of nasty firewood and stuff, it's nice to have a step, which we do right here. Just press the magic button, folds out, folds in. And as a rule, I can't stand running boards on a truck. I call them sissy boards, but if you have the ones that pop out when the door is open, then go back in when the door is closed, I can live with that. Alright, the first half of the video was boring specs. Second half of the video, we're going to do some driving, racking up lots of miles to see what the fuel economy is on this beast. Shut up, bird. Why do these birds follow me all over town to ruin my video? We're going to start our driving by taking these headlights out in the dark and see how they perform. We'll do that right now. It's dark enough. Let's take these headlights out and see what they do. Pretty bright for low beam. Let's try high beam. Ah, there you go. Double your pleasure. Here we have the low beams on a wall 100 feet away. Very bright, good height. High beams, wow. No problem with light there. Quite a glare. Here we have the brights on a building 300 feet away. Good height, good spread, good brightness. Lights up the countryside. Go to low beam. Actually reaches out. Still with good height. I would give these lights an A+ in my book. The camera does a pretty good job at night too of lighting up various angles, but unfortunately it got so much mud on the lens from the bad weather today. It's kind of hard to tell. Intruder alert. This is one thing I hate about high technology vehicles. Every time I get this vehicle turned on, I get this stupid message. I keep telling him no, comes on again. I tell him no, comes on again. Ugh. Annoying. Here we go again. Turn the truck on again, comes up again. Will not hook up to any apps I program. Go away, I don't care. Beat it. By the way, just in case you're wondering how much this baby costs, there you go. What a deal. Anyone can afford that. Before we drive this truck, let's take a peek at the computer. And according to this, in the past 1,916 miles, this truck has averaged 23.5 mpg. Of course, we don't know what type of driving that was. Could have been off-freeway, mixed, or city. But we're racking up our own miles to see what our fuel economy is. This is a pretty good figure, though. We've got some ranch patrolling to do, so we're going to reset the fuel economy meter and see what the miles per gallon gauge says when you're trotting around out here in the dirt. This particular F-150 suspension setup's great, absorbing all these washboard impacts like they weren't even there. Very impressive. I couldn't drive this quick with other brand of trucks or their suspension setups. I'd be bouncing all over the road. Someone must have rustled my cows. They're all gone. Or they escaped. Oh well. Well, I'm done patrolling the area. Let's take a peek at the fuel economy gauge and see what we got. 25.4, not bad. I didn't engage four-wheel drive, otherwise totally off-road. Well, I'm ready to go back to town, but first we gotta find the road. Where is the road? Look at the size of that hawk. Good grief, he's coming for me. Better duck. I'm being attacked by big birds and bulls with horns that want to stick me in the you-know-where. Guess it's time to get out of here. Hey, say goodbye, YouTube. Come here. Yeah, you. Say goodbye. We're going to take a long highway trip, approximately 400 miles. Reset the mileage computer to 0. Ranging 1,500 feet elevation to 7,000 feet, then back down again. All kinds of driving conditions to get the fuel economy and performance of this truck. This is definitely one of the smoothest trucks I've ever driven on the highway. Very quiet too. Same with this diesel engine. Very smooth and quiet. Far more than the 3.5 EcoBoost gasoline engine. If you've driven one of those, you know how noisy they are. I'm very impressed. If you do lots of highway driving and take long trips, this might be the truck for you. And the engine for you on top of that. I stated earlier in the video the main advantage of a diesel is the bottom end torque, which makes great pulling ability. As you'll find out when you're climbing steep mountain grades like I have been. In a gasoline engine, I'd be down 3 or 4 gears, pulling around 4,000 RPM. On this vehicle, 10th gear, 1,800 RPM all the way. Motor's not even running hard. This small diesel is really a great engine. In fact, it's so nice I think I'd get it even if I wasn't pulling loads. Of course, the expensive price tag is a block to that. Just a shame this motor has to be so expensive. It's really a great truck engine. And I mean truck engine. If you're thinking about buying a diesel for fuel economy and wondering how it compares to the gasoline engines, I've driven all of them in the Ford line. As far as gas motors go, the lowest figure was the Ford Raptor, averaging 15 miles to the gallon. And these are all 4x4 double cabs, by the way, I'm quoting. The 5.0 V8 and the 3.5 EcoBoost averaged 16 miles to the gallon. The 2.7 EcoBoost was 17.5 miles to the gallon. The little Ford Ranger with the 2.3 EcoBoost was 20 miles to the gallon. By comparison, the diesel engine in the monster Ford F-150, which is a big, powerful diesel, averaged 17 miles to the gallon on an empty bed. And I've driven this 3.0 before, averaging around 21 miles to the gallon. So out of all the Ford F-150s, this still has the best fuel economy. Not by a great amount, but still the best, even topping the little Ford Ranger. A couple hours ago, we were driving in the desert with 100-degree temperatures. 2 hours later, all I see is snow and ice and freezing temperatures. Good thing I got four-wheel drive. I think I'm going to need it. Well, we've racked up 275 miles, made it through the snow and ice. Now we're in Indian country. Very pleasant views, but very desolate and isolated. You don't want to break down out here. Not a good idea. You need a nice, reliable truck, which I think we're driving right here. This Ford F-150 has 4 modes of operation. You have 2-wheel drive for daily transport, 4-wheel drive high for off-road, 4-wheel drive low for off-road, and a 4-wheel drive automatic for pavement driving like we're doing now. Gets you through the snow and ice we've already been through, and a wet pavement like this when you have a nasty storm, which is going to get a lot worse, I can see. We're surrounded. 360 degrees around by nasty storms. Oh well. Oh yeah, it's even worse over there. Since you came along for the trip, I don't want you to get cheated out of the scenic view, so here it is. By the way, this 4-wheel drive automatic mode's doing a great job in tight corners. We're really sticking to the pavement, which is good because you don't want to go over the edge down there. That would not be a good idea. In a 2-wheel drive truck, you might do that. 4-wheel drive, not likely. Nothing like a little snow to brighten up your day. The fuel economy figures are brightening up my day, even with the 4-wheel drive and climbing this elevation up to 7,000 feet. We're still getting 22 miles to the gallon. That's pretty good for a big truck like this. We're losing traction here, so I'm going to switch into 4-wheel drive high, which is intended for off-road. We're going to need the traction here. Good thing we've got it. Even though I find the $70,000 price tag on this truck a bit excessive, I have to admit it's still one of the nicest trucks I've driven in a long time. Very versatile and comfortable. Man, I tell you, these small towns just don't have good service at these filling stations. Hey, I need some gas. Anyone home? I guess I'm going to have to pump it myself. We've reached the end of our highway trip. We're going to pull over and see what the fuel economy gauge says. Well, here you go. 341 miles, 22.6 miles to the gallon. That was climbing a lot of steep grades, doing a lot of passing, and for 50 miles engaging 4-wheel drive, so I would say it's a pretty good figure. Well, I think we've racked up enough miles, so we're going to have to wrap up this video. Nice scenic view, isn't it? Don't go away. Well, someone passed a law to get these Winnebago vehicles off the highway, especially these caravans clogging up the road. Get out of my way! you can afford one of those, you can afford to go to a motel and drive a Corvette. Get off the road, all of you. Move over. Ford's always bragging about their lightweight aluminum bodies and how light they are and fuel efficient, but they never tell you what happens when you get caught in a hailstorm banging on this bodywork. This doesn't seem like a good idea to me. Just for the record, I've had many Ford F-150s through hailstorms, and contrary to what you might see on the internet, no, you're not going to get body damage from the aluminum body. No dents, no dings. We just went through a nasty hailstorm. Everything's fine and perfect. So don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Our goal was to put 800 miles on this truck. And as you can see, we've accomplished that. Averaging 22.2 miles to the gallon, making this one of the most economical trucks in the Ford line. So after a week of driving, what's my take on this vehicle? Well, I love this diesel engine. Smooth, quiet, powerful, economical. It's just a shame it costs so much. Of course, I could say the same thing about this truck at 70 grand. But if you can afford it, you'll like it. Here's some videos for other trucks we've tested recently. Just click on the link and watch. And subscribe. I need money to pay for all this gas I'm using.